Got a sagging chin or loose skin under the neck? This 1-minute routine could finally change that. Enjoy watching. A drooping neckline is one of the body's most overlooked warning signs, often dismissed as just aging or stubborn fat. But what if that softening under your chin wasn't cosmetic at all? What if it was your body quietly signaling that your fascia is losing tone, your posture isn't supporting you, or your circulation has slowed enough that the tissues can't hold themselves up? So in this episode, we'll explore one simple daily exercise sequence that will get rid of your double chin for good. Welcome back to the Senior Health Podcast, where East meets West to help you stay strong, steady, and independent for life. Today, we're taking a close look at how the neck reflects your internal support systems, and how ignoring those subtle changes can speed up visible sagging far faster than most people realize. Because long-term data from the Tokyo Metropolitan Institute of Gerontology shows that fascia elasticity in the neck declines by more than 40% after age 60, and that deep neck muscle activation drops nearly 30%, which together often appear first as loose skin and the early signs of turkey neck. So sitting across from me is Japan's oldest physician, who reminds us that aging isn't a decline, but a message, and that the neck often whispers what the body needs most.
Thank you, John. It's always a pleasure to be here. And I want to start by asking everyone whether you've ever glanced in the mirror and seen that gentle droop beneath your chin, even on days you felt completely rested. That softening is often the body's first quiet signal that deeper support is weakening.
Yes, I've noticed that in myself as well. And if that sounds familiar, let us know in the comments and tell us where you're watching from.
Me too, John. And that early sagging under the chin is usually the first sign that the fascia layers are losing engagement. Most people blame age or weight, but it's often deeper. And when you learn to wake those tissues up again, the changes can be surprisingly reversible.
Right.
So today we're beginning beneath the surface, exploring the systems that quietly set this softening in motion. And if you stay with us, you'll learn the best exercise sequence that can restore tone much faster than most expect. And we will show it using very clear demonstrations.
This is also an invitation to everyone to join in doing the exercises while watching, because they work. I had a patient once, a woman in her 70s, who asked for a lifting cream, though all she needed was activation through her neck and fascia. After we guided her through the sequence we'll share today, her neckline lifted within weeks, and her reflection finally felt like her again.
It's remarkable, isn't it? When we listen to the neck, the whole body begins to respond.
It's amazing. So, doctor, where do we start?
We will dive into the first exercise shortly. Let's first understand where the change quietly starts. As we grow older, the neck slowly loses the coordinated support between its deeper muscles, the posture habits that once held everything up, and the fascia that keeps the skin lifted. When those systems stop working together, gravity doesn't wait. It steps in immediately. Many seniors feel as if the change happened overnight, but in truth, it builds quietly over years.
You know, hearing that makes me think of so many people who believed their neck just suddenly dropped. Understanding the gradual shift brings a kind of relief.
Exactly. And what often surprises people is that the neck isn't aging only on the surface. The deeper muscles fire less frequently after 60, especially with modern postures that keep our heads tilted down. At the same time, the fascia loses hydration and spring, which makes the skin look heavier long before any true muscle loss occurs. When those two forces combine, that softening beneath the chin appears much earlier than most expect.
That actually puts the whole picture into perspective now.
And this is why I always remind seniors that the neck can change again in the opposite direction. When we reactivate what has gone quiet, the tissues often respond more quickly than people imagine.
Right, and it really makes me wonder what part of the neck structure we tend to overlook the most.
A very important one, John, the fascia layer itself. And once we understand what that tissue really does, the entire approach to lifting the neck becomes much clearer.
I'm definitely paying attention now. What is it about the fascia that makes it so essential in reversing that sagging?
John, fascia is essential because it is the hidden support layer that actually holds the neckline up from within, and it changes dramatically after 60. It behaves like a living fabric, able to contract and lift when stimulated, yet it collapses when it goes unused for years. Most people think their skin is sagging, but it is often the fascia relaxing underneath, pulling the skin down with it. When we reawaken this tissue, the lifting effect can feel almost immediate.
That explains why people often see changes before they even build real muscle. And the idea that fascia is living tissue makes all of this feel much more hopeful.
Exactly, and there is another layer to this that many seniors never hear about. The fascia in the neck connects not only to the jawline but to muscles under the chin and even into the upper chest. So tension in one area affects all the others. If that system dries, stiffens or stops gliding, the neck loses its natural upward pull and starts drifting downward. But when we guide it through the right sequence, it becomes supple again and begins to lift the entire contour.
That makes me very curious, because it sounds like the right sequence is doing more than just stretching the neck.
It is, and once you feel how the fascia responds to the first movement, you will understand why this sequence works so reliably for seniors.
That makes me want to try it myself already. What is the very first movement that begins waking up this deeper support system?
John, we begin with the simplest movement, and it surprises many people with how quickly it awakens the tissue under the chin. Start by opening your mouth as wide as you comfortably can, feeling the jaw relax downward. Then gently drop the lower jaw even farther, repeating that full opening 10 times.
That already feels like an area most of us haven't engaged in years.
Exactly. And that is why it works so well. This motion activates the muscles and fascia that pull the bottom of the jaw downward, an area nearly everyone neglects after 60. As you repeat the opening, you create tension and tone right beneath the chin, where sagging tends to begin.
It's interesting how something so small can create that internal lift, and I imagine many seniors will feel this right away, even with the first repetition.
Yes, and as they continue, the body remembers what this part of the neck is supposed to do. With each jaw drop, the deeper fascia fibers begin contracting again, almost like waking up tissue that has been asleep for years. This helps reduce that soft, heavy look under the chin because the fascia tightens and pulls the skin upward. Over time, it lays the foundation for the entire neckline to become firmer.
That's powerful, especially knowing how overlooked this area is, and I appreciate how accessible it is for seniors who may feel intimidated by more intense movements.
It's accessible by design, and once this first layer is activated, the next movement reaches the fascia closer to the skin and begins refining the contour. It's a small change in expression, but it targets a completely different layer.
So you're saying the next step builds right on top of this activation?
Exactly, John. And when people feel how these layers work together, the transformation becomes much easier to understand. The next movement may look unusual, but it plays an essential role in restoring definition under the chin.
I'm ready for it now. What does that next movement look like, and how does it shift the focus to the more superficial fascia you mentioned?
John, the next movement looks unusual, but it reaches the fascia closest to the skin. Start by gently pulling the corners of your mouth outward and downward, almost as if forming a deliberate downward frown. Hold that position briefly, feeling how it engages the tissue just beneath the surface of the chin.
I can feel that immediately, especially higher under the jaw, almost like it lifts from a different angle.
Yes, and that is exactly the purpose. This expression activates the superficial fascia layer, the one that begins to loosen first as we age. By drawing the corners of the mouth outward and down, you create tension that tightens the upper portion of the neckline.
It's surprisingly specific, and I imagine many seniors have never moved that part of the face with intention before.
Very true, and that neglect is why this step becomes so meaningful. When we work this superficial fascia, it prepares the skin to rest more smoothly over the deeper layers. It also helps reduce the creasing that contributes to the turkey neck look. Together with the first exercise, it begins shaping the contour from both inside and out.
I love how both steps complement each other, and it's encouraging that they don't require strength, just mindful engagement.
Exactly. And now that we've engaged both the deep and superficial layers under the chin, the next movement opens everything through the neck itself. This one creates the long upward stretch that most people haven't felt in decades.
That makes me wonder what happens when the neck fully opens like that. What does the neck stretch look like, and how does it deepen this awakening?
Well, let's begin by lifting the entire neck structure. Gently tilt your head all the way back until you feel the front of your throat lengthen. Then slowly jut your jaw forward or slightly upward, creating a long stretch across the whole underchin line.
That already feels like a part of my neck I haven't moved in years.
Yes, and that's exactly why this one is so powerful. When you extend the neck fully, you take the slack out of the fascia that drapes from the jawline into the collarbone, and when you add that gentle forward jaw movement, you activate and elongate the fibers that are rarely challenged in daily life.
It feels both stretching and awakening at the same time, and there's a sense of opening that the other exercises didn't create.
Beautifully said, and that opening is the point. With the neck tilted back, every strand of fascia has to lengthen, and the jaw jut adds an extra layer of engagement. This combination clears stiffness, increases blood flow, and helps the tissue learn to support the jawline again. Most seniors are stunned by how quickly their neckline responds once this movement becomes a daily rhythm.
I can imagine this doing wonders for posture as well. It almost teaches the neck how to stand tall again.
Exactly. And that tallness is what smooths the front of the neck over time. By giving the tissue its full range, you wake up muscles that have been dormant for decades. You create space, warmth, and tone right where gravity wants to pull you down. It's one of the most overlooked ways to restore dignity to the profile.
Hearing it explained like this makes the stretch feel even more intentional, and I'm curious why combining extension and activation matters so much for results.
Because this movement sets the stage for the final piece, John. The one that brings the deep fascia to life in a way none of the others can reach. It's a simple shift in position, but it changes how the entire neck organizes itself. And once someone feels it, they understand exactly why the chin begins to lift.
That sounds like an important step, maybe even the missing one. What does this last movement look like, and what makes it so different from the others?
It is different because this final movement begins in a completely different position. You simply lie on your bed with your head extended just past the edge, letting gravity guide the weight of your skull. From there, you gently lift your head forward, activating the deeper flexor muscles and the fascia that sits right above them.
It already sounds like a part of the neck we never use in daily life.
Exactly. And that is what makes this step so transformative. We have stretched the neck, opened it, awakened it. Now we strengthen the deepest layer. This forward flexion draws blood flow into the tissue, tones the fascia, and teaches the underchin area to support itself again.
I can imagine many listeners realizing, in this moment, just how weak that region has become over time.
I hear that often, and it is not a sign of failure. It simply means those deeper fibers have been forgotten. When you repeat this slow flexion, even for a few repetitions, the fascia begins to firm and organize itself. Over weeks, the neckline gains a quiet strength that creams cannot provide.
That is such an encouraging image, doctor. It makes the process feel more like reclaiming something rather than fixing something broken.
Yes, and reclaiming is the perfect word. By lying back and lifting forward, you engage the forgotten architecture of the neck. You create tone in the deepest structures that hold the chin and throat. It is a reset for the entire lower face.
Hearing that makes me appreciate how each of these steps builds on the last. It feels like this final flexion seals everything together.
It truly does, John, and it is why I call this the quiet powerhouse of the sequence. For many seniors, this is the moment when they feel the neck come alive again. And once that activation begins, the changes they see in the mirror can arrive faster than they expect.
That makes me curious to hear where all of this leads. If someone commits to these movements, what kind of shift can they realistically expect to feel in their neckline and confidence?
The shift is often subtle at first but unmistakable. As these layers begin firing again, the underchin feels lighter, the skin sits closer to its natural shape, and people describe a quiet return of lift they thought was gone for good. And with that physical change, confidence tends to rise right alongside it.
That really is encouraging to hear, and a perfect way to end this episode. To everyone listening, we love you. Please support us by liking the episode and subscribing to the channel. Oh, and watch this next video right now.
Yes, please.
We've picked this one especially for you.